Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pam's Sustainable Kitchen Show, brought to you by Green Training Associates. We invite you to subscribe to the Green Training Associates YouTube channel and share your comments and suggestions from today's episode and future program topics. Episode number 1, Consumer Tips for a Budget and Earth-Friendly Kitchen and Pantry. I'm Pam Sammarco, your host, located in New Jersey in the Northeast US. Well, New Jersey is known as the beautiful Garden State. I'm born and raised here, and I'm the granddaughter of 2 home farmers and regularly visit New Jersey's pick your own orchards and local farm stands. Today's program focuses on the ways to reduce and eliminate food waste and make earth-friendly decisions for your home. Food waste in New Jersey and the USA on the whole is a massive problem. Well, just how big is the food waste problem? Well, 40% of the USA's landfill is consumer waste according to our EPA. 40% equates to about 400 pounds of food waste per person per year that leaves our homes and fills the landfills. Well, this waste creates greenhouse gas emissions and contributes to our climate problem. Our country can actually provide 130 billion meals if we didn't throw out all of this food. Imagine how many people we can feed who are food insecure. Well, we all have a role then to reduce the food waste with daily habit changes. We can eliminate food waste, save money, and protect the planet. We need a tidal wave of change where everyone takes these easy steps to change our behavior from food waste to food as a resource that has value. So when you waste food, you waste money. So I want you to think about your home as a mini food value ecosystem, thinking about your budget, where you shop, when you shop, what you bring into your home, what inventory you have, what goes on in your pantry and your kitchen when you plan and prepare healthy meals to reduce or eliminate food waste and ensure that you manage your kitchen and your budget more carefully. So today's tips are in 3 categories: farm to table ideas, shopping tips, and pantry planning and waste prevention. Who's ready to get started? Well, we're going to talk about farm to table ideas first. So here's your tip number 1. Seek out your local farmers market, greengrocer, or farm stands close to your home. You're going to give local farmers business, and you'll get fresh in-season produce that gives you a rainbow of fruits and vegetables to improve your overall health. To find them in New Jersey, I invite you to visit jerseyfresh.com or check out your community's farm stands and farmers markets. You get extra bonus points if you go into the orchards and learn to pick your own produce. It's family fun and it's a friendly activity to do. And when you learn where your produce comes from, you have a greater respect for our planet and you connect with nature too. So I grew up with 2 family home farms, and it was very normal for us to visit my grandparents, and we would go into their gardens with buckets and pick all kinds of seasonal produce. And I'd watch my grandmothers in their kitchens make meals and teach me to cook and bake with freshly picked produce and using our family's recipes for generations. And we'd also watch them preserve the harvest by preparing the fruits and vegetables that were picked to be eaten throughout the winter. So tip number 2, don't be afraid of imperfect produce. When produce is harvested, the farmers leave behind any produce that's not perfect for the retail market, but it's still perfectly edible and nutritious. So for example, not all carrots are perfect, straight, single root. My grandpa used to make us laugh with these 5-rooted carrots or oddly shaped tomatoes or apples that were not perfectly symmetrical. So all of that produce is still really good. It kind of gets left behind. So Misfit is an organization that deals with misfit produce and sells it. You can check them out online as one resource. And then there's a lot of new pop-up companies that are upcycling that produce and other food that would go to waste, and they upcycle it into new products. And it's not the landfill kind, but it's simply food that hasn't gone to market and been sold. So our next category is shopping tips. Tip number 3, avoid impulse shopping or overbuying large quantity food, those items that are on sale, unless you're sure you and your family is going to eat the entire quantity within the expiration date. So tip number 4, you get extra bonus points if you check your cupboard's inventory first. Plan a menu for the week of meals, make a grocery shopping list, and stick to it. So the worst part is when we go without a list, and then we tend to overshop, overspend, and overbuy. So tip number 5, bring your reusable grocery bags to the retail stores. Some states, including New Jersey, has or will have a ban on paper and plastic bags, and they're going to charge you an extra fee when they provide to you those single-use bags that are awful for our environment. So you save money and save the planet by bringing your own reusable bags. I keep mine in the car, so then they're accessible and I can grab them. So once I unload my groceries, put them back in the car, and then they're there so I don't forget them when I go shopping. So tip number 6, balance eating out with cooking at home based on your overall weekly or monthly food budget. You may find eating out very often to be expensive. However, it does support local restaurants. So if you can, do a bit of both. Tip number 7, when you're eating at home or eating out, use mindful eating techniques where we become aware through eating slower of being full, and then we can stop before we overeat. So become very aware of supersized American portions. Paying attention and checking calories is important. They may be provided on the menus in some restaurants. But I find when I've traveled abroad, for example, I've noticed that the food is more proportionate in serving sizes that doesn't overfeed or provide excessive quantities. Well, why are we talking about this? Well, because that food, if you don't eat it, goes into the landfill if you leave it behind. So I encourage you to get a takeaway box, or we end up overeating to finish what was provided. And then we've got, calories and other health issues that arise from constantly eating over these oversized meals or large portions. So don't hesitate to take home those extra portions for lunch or supper the next day. And because sometimes you get into a restaurant situation where there's like 3 meals worth of food provided, and all of a sudden you feel the need to overeat or finish it all versus taking it home. And then if you don't take it home, there it goes in the landfill, and that you've paid for that. So then that could be another meal's worth of your, for your next day. So our final category is pantry planning and waste prevention. Tip number 8, consume what you buy. Too often we may buy on an impulse, and then the item sits in our kitchens, and then we keep shopping and adding more and more items to our kitchen inventory because we go without a list sometimes, or we buy something for one recipe and then the rest of the item sits. Well, here's tip number 9, and this is going to be the challenge for you. Institute a periodic no shop policy. Challenge yourself to eat everything in your pantry, refrigerator, or freezer before you shop again. So if I bought it, paid for it, and don't eat it, we've got food waste, lost money, and especially if the item expires, then we go back to the landfill issue. So food is valuable, so eat what you buy. And you may use your imagination or get creative when you're cooking and baking ideas to prepare meals with whatever's in the house as you're starting to work down through your inventory. Well, you can look up easy to look up recipes when you have an item to cook with. Say you have a container of ricotta cheese. Go to the internet and ask for recipes with ricotta cheese, and up will come some cool options. So then it's creative. You're a little more innovative in your kitchen, and your meals are not as routine when you start to figuring out how to use everything that you bought before you go back to the store. So tip number 10 is to rotate food in the refrigerator, freezer, and pantry. This may be another challenge, but I want you to monitor expiration dates so you rotate the nearest date items first. This way, you're going to eat all the items before they expire, and you don't risk eating expired food, right? Food that's out of expiration can't be good. And, then if you're not eating expired food, then you're throwing it out. So you get extra bonus points, by the way, when you check the expiration dates in the grocery store before you buy the items. Sometimes you'll find sale items are on sale because of short expiration dates. Well, tip number 11 then is also to plan the quantity of food per person using standard portions so you avoid leftovers if you can. And if you have leftovers, don't throw them out. So think about food as the value or as a resource versus food waste. Cooked food should be refrigerated and consumed within 3 to 5 days. But you might check the shelf life through shelflife.com, or if it's food from a manufacturer, check the manufacturer about opened and unopened containers of food so that you consume it within the time frame that they suggest. And or, it's the type of food that sometimes has a shorter shelf life if it's dairy, blah, blah. So I'm also a big fan of freezer cooking, where I freeze leftovers, or I'll cook a large quantity on purpose with the plan to freeze in single containers that can be used for individual future meals. So I might make a tray of lasagna, I might make a tray of eggplant parmesan, and then I'll cut it up into single portions and put it in freezer containers. Always be sure to label the dates on that container so that you know when that food was frozen, because even though it's frozen, it still will have an expiration. It'll be a little bit longer, but certainly I freeze only for a short time in my freezer cooking method. So I intend to use it in the next few weeks, basically, as it rotates through my freezer to ensure that it's still good to consume. So tip number 12 is to avoid disposable and plastic goods when possible when serving meals at home. Use durable servingware or compostable products when necessary. Tip number 13, the final tip for today's program, start a home compost system. You may buy a simple composter that's meant for residential home, or you could research your town's composting guidance, or start your own by simply collecting compostable food scraps for your home garden. New Jersey does have a composting council that can be a great resource. Or if you're not in New Jersey, you may find your own state to have its own composting laws and resources. So in summary today, we've shared with you 13 tips in 3 categories to help you reduce or eliminate food waste from your home for a budget and earth-friendly kitchen. We talked about farm-to-table ideas, we talked about shopping tips, and we talked about pantry planning and waste prevention. So again, please subscribe to Green Training Associates YouTube channel to view future episodes of Pam's Sustainable Kitchen Show. Feel free to follow Green Training Associates on Twitter and LinkedIn, and visit our website and sign up for our newsletter, and give us feedback or suggestions on today's program or for future topics. So until next time, thank you for listening, and also look forward to staying connected for a healthier and waste-free world. So let's all be part of the tidal wave of change. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.